I kind of get that a little bit, but I just don't find using visuals to confuse people compelling. Fundamentally, that's that because that in and of itself is a framing that sort of betrays my perspective on the matter. I think other people would maybe look at the visuals of like mods and rhythm games and be like, ooh, wow, isn't that so cool how it's like moving all around? Isn't that interesting? Isn't that challenging? And it is, but that's not the kind of challenge that I'm interested in. Is I guess how I would answer that. I don't care for creating challenge with like the human perceptual system, mostly because I mean it could be interesting, but mostly the problem is that you can just memorize it. Like you play a mod once, and the effect that the visuals have kind of go away once you start engaging your memory. I found this with Rhythm Doctor as well. It's like, oh, I actually just you know you try to first try a song in Rhythm Doctor and it's like, wow, I wasn't expecting a jump scare with with a note that I'm supposed to hit. I couldn't really have been prepared for that. Uh, but I think, so that's reasons why I disagree. But maybe I could try to sell you briefly, before we start coding today. I could try to sell you briefly on why I think currently there's still more to experience and why you don't want to use visuals that way. For one thing, if visuals are used to benefit the player and communicate what actions the game expects the player to do, then players can get very, very, very good. There's an extremely high skill ceiling. Players can get very, very, very good at hitting notes very, very quickly. And so that in and of itself is interesting to me. How quickly can you hit the notes? And can you make them interesting patterns? And that sort of in itself of itself is just like this physical and perceptual mastery you have to have in order to play the game fast. And then another thing, and this is sort of I think what got me into rhythm games in the first place. There's this really cool magic that happens when you not only use the visuals to communicate what the player is expected to do, like just on a basic level, like, hey, you need to hit these notes. But then, on a meta level, the step file itself, through using patterns and like progressions and directions and like motion, that communicates what notes will come next for the player, and that in and of itself has its own like element of surprise and intrigue. And then the step file compounded with the music has those very same dimensions of like pattern and movement and surprise. And if you get all of that working together plus the visuals working with that, you can exceed what just visuals alone would be able to communicate. And you can actually surprise the player with how well they're able to hit the notes. I think that's one of the most interesting and exciting features about playing a rhythm game is you have brief moments where you're third person observing yourself, observing your brain be manipulated into hitting the notes better than you thought you would be able to. I think that's incredibly compelling.